A bloody battle was breaking out. A group of soldiers stood at the edge of the battlefield, but not one of them dared to rush in. The monster inside was too terrifying. Just being near it was enough to freeze them in place. Then the world's greatest adventurer team arrived. They were known as the Hero Team. Their leader, Shogo, stayed unusually calm. He told everyone not to be afraid. Then he charged straight at the monster. With that, Shogo's fight with the monster truly began. Standing before him was a brutal and dangerous skeleton. Its name was Seiya, the corpse god. Seiya could control the corpses on the battlefield and move them like puppets. But Shogo was no ordinary fighter either. He had a unique power of his own. That power came from his eyes. Seiya seemed to know this already, so he went all out from the start. Shogo attacked again and again with curses, swordsmanship, and magic. But he still could not truly overpower Seiya. Seiya gathered the souls of dead soldiers and summoned 2 giant dragons. Shogo managed to wound Seiya badly, but the skeleton army still pushed him to his limit. He was knocked back by the impact. His body had already reached its limit. The sight left the hero team shaken. Only then did they realize that the earlier attack had not been enough to end the battle. But the healer Sora still believed in Shogo. She kept urging him to get back on his feet. After all, he was the hero known as the Calamity Conqueror. He could not fall there. Suddenly, Shogo remembered the tragedy from his childhood. Back then, the kingdom had been attacked by monsters. Almost everyone had died. And Shogo had been the only one who could see the souls of the dead. That ability had brought him unbearable pain when he was still a child. Shogo snapped back to the present and faced Seiya with anger. He understood that what made Seiya terrifying was not just his strength. Seiya was not afraid of death at all. He even used death as a weapon. If Shogo was still afraid of death, he could never defeat a monster like Seiya. Then Shogo swore that he would make Seiya pay. Only then did everyone realize that Shogo could see the soul Seiya was controlling. That realization visibly stunned Seiya. Seiya realized that Shogo also had the evil eye. To Seiya, that power should have belonged to him. Shogo ignored Seiya's reaction. He rushed into the skeleton army. Using flames and swordsmanship, he smashed the skeletons apart one after another. The skeletons he struck could no longer stand back up. Finally, he shattered the rocks with flames and sent them crashing toward Seiya. The attack broke Seiya's outer shell. It revealed Seiya's true form. Seiya tried to convince Shogo that the two of them were the same kind. Seiya also had the evil eye. But to Seiya, souls were nothing more than toys. He wanted Shogo to join his side. He told Shogo not to throw his life away just to protect those people. But Shogo refused him outright. Shogo was different from Seiya. He was not the same as him. And he never would be. Shogo charged towards Seiya at top speed. He remembered his destroyed hometown. He also remembered the children who had died so young. He swore that he would never let Seiya go. With Sora's support, Shogo charged at Seiya one last time. Then he poured all his strength into the final blow. With that, the battle finally ended. Seiya's body vanished from that world completely. But Shogo still felt that something was wrong. He began searching for Seiya's soul. But he could not find it. It turned out that Seiya's final spell had never been meant as a counterattack. It had been meant to transfer his soul to another world. In other words, Seiya had not truly disappeared. His soul had escaped into another world. But what kind of world was it? And could he still keep his original power there? When Seiya woke up, his soul was already inside the body of an unfamiliar boy. He had no idea what world this was. He also had no idea who this body belonged to. He only knew that the body was weak and thin. It was nothing like his original body. Then he followed the light and reached the main street. His whole body was bleeding. The wound on his throat made it almost impossible for him to speak. Clearly, someone had just tried to kill the boy who originally owned this body. But who the killer was, and why they did it, was still unknown. Meanwhile, a blond boy named Takumi spotted him from a distance. Takumi could not believe his eyes. The boy should have been dead. Misaki was supposed to have already taken care of him. Takumi immediately contacted Misaki, the assassin assigned to the job. He told her that the mission was not over. Polka, the boy who was supposed to be dead, was somehow still alive. That was the truth. Misaki and the people behind her had killed the boy who originally owned this body. Now that Seiya's soul was inside Polka's body, they would definitely keep hunting him. 2 police officers found Seiya covered in blood. They immediately rushed over and asked what had happened to him. At first, Seiya could not understand what they were saying. Only after the translation magic kicked in did he understand their questions. But all he could say was that he knew nothing. The police decided to take him back to the station first. Then they would contact his family. Just as they were about to take Seiya away, a girl suddenly appeared. She claimed the boy was with her. With that excuse, she fooled the police and took Seiya away from the scene. At this point, the boy's identity was finally revealed. His name was Polka. And the girl who suddenly took Polka away was Misaki, the very person trying to kill him. Misaki played the part perfectly. She first pretended to get close to Polka. She even teased him on purpose. But soon, her expression changed. She could not understand how Polka was still alive after she had clearly slit his throat. Only then did Seiya realize she had not come to help him. Misaki immediately attacked him again. Seiya had no idea why he was being hunted. He barely even understood this world. From the memories left in the body, he only learned that the boy was named Polka. But the one truly controlling this body was not the real Polka. It was Seiya, the corpse god, reincarnated from another world. Misaki did not care about any of that. Her order was simple. She had to kill Polka. Seiya seized the chance and escaped into a building. He hid inside and tried to figure out how to use magic in this body. But Misaki did not let him go. She quickly followed him inside. The moment Misaki found Seiya inside Polka's body, she attacked with her knives. One of the knives stabbed into the body. Seiya was cornered. Misaki closed in, ready to finish him off. At that moment, Seiya remembered the one thing he wanted most. He could not give up. He had finally arrived in this unfamiliar world. He could not die like this. This place might be his chance to start over and live a peaceful life. He forced his body to keep moving. He pulled the knife out of his leg and kept running. In the end, he escaped into a cluttered warehouse area. Misaki caught up to him. She mocked him for making it this far. The area was chaotic. And Seiya saw countless souls gathered around him. But instead of fear, he felt pleased. Because he had finally confirmed that his power was still there. He began chanting a spell in a low voice. Misaki rushed at him again. This time, she had no chance. The next second, Seiya gathered the power of the souls and launched a devastating attack. A massive hand formed from the souls. It instantly pierced through Misaki's chest. She collapsed to the ground, already on the verge of death. Takumi had been monitoring the mission from the shadows. What he saw left him completely terrified. Seiya looked at Misaki. Her biggest mistake had been underestimating him. She had also underestimated the power of souls. Seiya did not know why Misaki had attacked Polka. But he still thanked her. Because she had brought him to a place where many souls had gathered. Here, he had confirmed that his power was still there. Maybe this unfamiliar world really could give him a fresh start. Seiya, now inside Polka's body, had only wanted to survive. But from that moment on, he had already drawn the attention of the assassin organization, the police, and the dark forces of this world. The peaceful life he wanted was clearly not going to come easily. To understand why peace meant so much to him, the story had to go back to his past. Long ago, Seiya had been just a child who could see souls. After his parents had sold him to a witch, he had been forced into war. Against his will, he had been forced to kill innocent people. After the war had ended, all he had wanted was to stay away from people and live in peace. But the brief happiness he had found was soon destroyed by soldiers. The girl he loved was killed too. After that, Seiya swore to kill the tyrant and create a world where children could live happily. But through all that pain and killing, he also became the corpse god. Over time, he began to treat souls like toys. Back in the present, Seiya looked at Misaki lying on the ground. He realized he was still alive in this modern world. But then another problem hit him. If Misaki died, he might be put on trial for killing someone. He had clearly acted in self-defense. But people might still see him as a murderer. He also knew that even if he explained everything, it would be hard for anyone to believe that Misaki had attacked him first. So he started trying to heal Misaki. Takumi immediately contacted Clarissa. He told her everything he had seen at the scene. According to him, Polka had not attacked first. He had only fought back after being hunted. Meanwhile, Misaki lay on the ground with serious injuries. As she came close to death, she remembered her own past. She had once been an innocent and kind girl, but she had watched criminals murder her parents right in front of her. After that, revenge had become her only goal. Later, with Clarissa's help, she had kept hunting criminals. She had also taken revenge on the killer herself. But after her revenge was complete, she had lost her reason to live. That was when she had accepted the mission to assassinate Polka. Polka had not been a criminal. Someone had simply paid a high price to have him killed. Now Misaki was badly injured. And Seiya was desperately trying to heal her. Before he could finish, Clarissa burst in with her people. She ordered Seiya to stop and surrender. But Seiya ignored them. He stayed focused on healing Misaki. Clarissa's people immediately pointed their guns at him. They tried to force him to stop. But Seiya revealed his power right in front of them. Dozens of spells appeared around him, along with a massive hand. Everyone was frightened. They finally realized that the person in front of them was far more terrifying than they had imagined. Seiya used his power as a warning. If they kept moving closer, he could kill them at any time. Just as both sides were locked in a standoff, word came in that a fire had broken out nearby. People were trapped inside. Some of them were children. Clarissa did not want her organization getting involved in this. She decided to leave the rescue to the police and stay out of it. But Seiya could not accept that. He begged Clarissa for help. Even if Clarissa would not step in herself, he asked her to at least let him rescue the children. Clarissa agreed to let him go save them. At the same time, Seiya surprised her. She had not expected someone with such terrifying power to choose to save children. Seiya did not answer her. Takumi guided Seiya to the burning building. With the help of skeletons, Seiya rescued the children from the building. Their lives were saved. The incident soon made the news. No one knew where those skeletons had come from. And no one could explain how the children had been rescued. The police quickly realized this was no ordinary case. So they called in Sota, one of Japan's strongest investigators. Seiya told Clarissa that he wanted to live in peace in this world. At the same time, he wanted to find a way to bring back the real Polka's consciousness. Eventually, he also wanted to find a way back to his original world. After hearing this, Clarissa told him that all of that would take money. And it would not be a small amount. Then she invited Seiya to join her organization. She also promised to help him find his place in this world. Seiya thought it over carefully. In the end, he agreed to join them. Just like that, he moved in and started living with them. After moving into the base, Seiya began learning about this world through books. He contacted the real Polka's family as well. He lied and said Polka had only left home to travel. Then he promised to write regularly and let them know he was safe. But what worried him most was how he would face Polka's family later. After all, he was not their real son. And he did not have access to all of the real Polka's memories. Later, everyone asked about his true identity. The Polka standing in front of them told them his real name was Seiya. He was not the real Polka. He was the corpse god, reincarnated from another world. In his original world, he had once been a massive and powerful dragon skeleton. He had also been known as the corpse god. He had temporarily placed what remained of the real Polka's soul inside a toy. That way, he could communicate with the real Polka. And he could slowly search for a way to return the body to him. Surprisingly, the real Polka agreed as well. Soon, they got a small job. A client claimed that he was being threatened by a murder organization. He wanted them to protect him. Misaki did not want to take the job. But Seiya needed money, so he agreed anyway. After they arrived at the agreed location, they discovered it was a trap. Seiya had already sensed that something was wrong. The souls of murdered children were gathered around the place, begging him to stop those people. Only then did Seiya realize that the group was connected to something much darker. So he summoned a giant hand of souls and crushed them into one mass. After thanking him, the children's souls finally disappeared. Later, Seiya discovered something strange about this world. After all, the person living inside this body was Seiya from another world. He discovered that many things from his original world only existed as legends here. Soon after, investigator Sota went to Clarissa's cafe to see if anyone there knew what had really happened during the fire. But Clarissa's people gave nothing away. Sota found no evidence, so he had no choice but to leave for the moment. Because Seiya had saved Misaki with necromancy, her body had changed as well. She now had the power to paralyze people. Once she bit a target, she could paralyze that person for a short time. The well-known investigator Arata also began looking into the children's case. After receiving a call from his colleague Sota, he arrived at a new crime scene. This was where the members of that organization had been killed. The bodies had been crushed into one mass. The scene was horrifying. The two investigators soon linked this case to the earlier fire. The police also began searching for the giant creature mentioned in the rumors. But no one knew what it really was. So Arata decided to go to the crime scene himself and search for evidence. Meanwhile, Seiya had made progress of his own. He successfully transferred what remained of the real Polka's soul into the toy. But that was not enough. To make the toy speak, he needed more magic power. In his original world, that would not have been difficult. But the modern world had almost no magic power. So he had to use large amounts of gems as substitutes for magic stones. Seiya believed that with enough gems, the real Polka could recover even more. At the same time, he could keep searching for a way back to his original world. But Takumi reminded him that diamonds and rubies were extremely expensive in this world. Only then did Seiya realize that he had to keep taking jobs to earn money. Takumi took that chance to give him and Misaki a new assignment. But before the assignment even began, Seiya and Misaki ran into a dangerous man on the street. That man was Investigator Arata. Takumi was not there in person, but he spotted Arata through his equipment. He immediately warned Seiya and Misaki to run. Around the same time, Sota returned to Clarissa's cafe. He tried to find out whether she knew the truth behind the two cases. Clarissa did not admit anything. She only said she was just someone who sold information. To make things worse, Arata was talking to Takumi at that very moment. Not only did Arata know Takumi, but he also quickly noticed something strange in Seiya and Misaki's nervous reactions. While they were running, the toy Seiya was carrying accidentally fell out. Arata immediately picked it up. When Seiya saw it, he demanded that Arata give it back. The real Polka's soul was hidden inside the toy. This reaction made Arata even more suspicious of Seiya. Arata stepped closer to Seiya and deliberately tried to turn him against Takumi. He mocked Takumi as a thief. He even demanded that Seiya cut ties with Takumi. Hearing this, Seiya became furious. For one brief moment, his power went out of control and sent Arata flying. He warned Arata that Takumi was his friend. He would never allow anyone to insult Takumi. That made Arata even more interested in Seiya. He also realized that the boy in front of him could not be an ordinary middle school student. Takumi tried to smooth things over. But Arata brought up a painful wound from Takumi's past. Seiya did not waver. Instead, he continued to defend Takumi. Just as Arata was about to test them further, Misaki suddenly appeared. She kicked him into the wall, then pulled Seiya away and ran. Only then did Arata become sure that these two were anything but ordinary. Takumi finally managed to calm down. Arata's words had clearly hit a sore spot. Takumi had always felt that he did not deserve other people's trust. Once he calmed down, he called to check on Seiya and Misaki. Misaki told him that they had fooled Arata and escaped safely. Meanwhile, Arata noticed the footprints Misaki had left behind. He remembered the footprints from the previous crime scene and immediately compared the two. Now, he was even more certain of his judgment. Misaki was very likely a professional killer. And Polka was definitely not just an ordinary student. They had to be connected to the case. Meanwhile, the police had been investigating the legendary killer Ren. They suspected that Ren might be the key figure behind that massacre. Back at Clarissa's cafe, Sota was still inside. He stayed near the girl at the shop and tried to get information from her. Suddenly, Seiya and Misaki walked into the shop together. They started talking to Clarissa. During the conversation, Sota received a message from Arata. The message described the two suspects in detail. Sota looked at Seiya and Misaki. He immediately realized that they were the people Arata was looking for. So he deliberately kept the conversation going, trying to hold them there. He waited for Arata and the other investigators to arrive. Takumi soon noticed that something was wrong. He wanted to warn them to leave. But before his warning could reach them, the investigators had already arrived at the cafe. Arata walked toward them. As soon as Misaki saw Arata, she shifted the blame onto him. In front of everyone, she accused Arata of attacking her and trying to restrain her by force. Arata froze on the spot. He had not expected her to frame him like that. The investigators began questioning everyone. But suddenly, the power in the shop went out. At first, everyone thought Clarissa had arranged it to cover for her own people. But this time, the blackout was not Clarissa's plan. The real person behind it was Ren. Ren's appearance instantly put everyone on edge. Arata immediately ordered his men to restrain Ren. But as soon as the investigators got close, Ren took them down with ease. Only Arata managed to block him, but just barely. Even Arata was soon overpowered by Ren. Ren used the chaos to abduct Misaki. Seiya had the power to save her. But he could not reveal his power in front of so many people. Just as Ren was about to leave, Seiya secretly cast a spell and tried to drag him back. Clarissa noticed his movement. She immediately turned off the lights to hide his power. In the darkness, Seiya kept casting spells and tried to trap Ren. Misaki also took the chance to fight back. She used poison to slow Ren's movements. Seiya seized the opening and summoned a giant skeleton to attack Ren. but Rin still escaped through the window at the last moment. Then the lights came back on. Seiya and the others used the chaos to get away as well. Ren returned to the man secretly controlling him. When that man learned that Polka was still alive, he could not believe it. He almost lost control. Then he began laughing hysterically. It seemed this man was the one who had hired Clarissa to kill Polka. And this lead would soon pull Polka back into the Shinoyama family. Later, Seiya opened a fortune-telling shop under the name Clown. Unexpectedly, business soon improved. It also gave him a temporary way to make money. Then 2 children suddenly came to see him. They were also from the Shinoyama family. The girl was named Kazuna, and the boy was named Shizuki. They asked when Polka would come home. They also wanted Seiya to tell their fortune. At first, Seiya wanted to brush them off. But he suddenly saw an unusually powerful soul behind them. The soul was asking him to protect the 2 children. After seeing that, Seiya decided to go home the next day. But the biggest problem was that Seiya knew nothing about the Shinoyama family. After all, he was the one using this body, not the real Polka. The real Polka's soul told Seiya not to worry. This time, the real Polka would go with Seiya. Takumi then gave Seiya the address. He also explained the situation inside the Shinoyama family. The Shinoyama family was extremely wealthy. Rosen was the real Polka's father and the central figure of the family. He was almost 79 years old. His health was poor as well. The real Polka was the second son of Rosen and another woman. One day, he was likely to inherit a large fortune. So far, they still did not know who had paid someone to kill Polka. But they could be certain of one thing. That person was very likely a member of the Shinoyama family. The motive was the inheritance. So this time, Seiya was going back to observe Rosen and the Shinoyama family. He needed to find out who wanted to kill the real Polka. At the same time, he also needed to bring someone who could protect him. That way, he would not have to use his powers in front of others. He also would not reveal that he was not the real Polka. The skeleton was too obvious, so it was not suitable for hiding his identity. Takumi suggested that he bring Misaki with him instead. Although Misaki was not exactly stable, she could still be useful at key moments. Seiya had no choice but to agree. The next morning, they arrived at the Shinoyama mansion. The place was far too grand to be an ordinary home. It looked more like a massive official residence. Kazuna and Shizuki came out to welcome him. Among the people welcoming Polka was his older brother, Takaru. On the surface, Takaru only seemed concerned about where his younger brother had gone. But the audience soon learned that Takaru was the one behind Rin. He was the one who had paid to assassinate Polka. Seiya just did not know the truth yet. Seiya said he was now running a fortune-telling business. Misaki was his secretary. This explanation was enough to fool most people. But it did not fool Rosen. Rosen immediately pointed out that the person in front of him was not his son. He asked where the real Polka was. He also called Seiya a murderer. Seiya was shocked and tried to dodge the question. But Rosen placed a sword against his neck. Rosen did not believe his explanation at all. He forced Seiya to answer who had taken over this body. At that moment, Seiya understood that he could no longer hide the truth from Rosen. But just then, he sensed danger. He asked Rosen to let him go. Rosen's grandchildren were in danger. Seiya promised Rosen that he would save them first. After he came back, he would explain everything to him. Rosen actually let him go. Seiya immediately rushed out. Right after that, flames erupted throughout the mansion. The danger the soul had warned him about had become real. 2 years earlier, Kazuna had lost her favorite bag in the forest. Her older sister Aiko had gone into the forest alone to help her find it. There, Aiko had accidentally heard Takaru talking with a killer. They had been planning to burn the 3 children to death. Aiko had given away her location out of fear. After that, Takaru had set the fire and killed Aiko. Takaru had done all of this to take the family fortune for himself. 2 years later, he planned to use the same method again. This time, he wanted to get rid of Kazuna and Shizuki. A killer disguised as a servant led the 2 children toward a so-called safe place. Aiko's soul wanted to save them. But she could no longer stop it herself. Kazuna and Shizuki also sensed that something was wrong. They began questioning the killer. They asked where he was taking them. The killer tried to keep deceiving them. But he soon realized there was no need to keep pretending. So he revealed his real intention and used his electric shock ability. The children were terrified. They thought this was really the end. Just then, Misaki suddenly appeared. She stood there and spoke to Aiko's soul. She told Aiko that she could rest easy now. She and Saya would deal with this killer. After the killer revealed his true identity, he started attacking Misaki for real. Soon, flames surrounded the entire area. The children thought they could no longer escape. Just then, Saya broke through the wall and rescued them. He brought them back to their family. After saving the children, Saya caught the criminal disguised as a servant. He also pointed out that he had seen through the disguise a long time ago. The criminal still tried to set another fire to buy time. But then Rin suddenly appeared and subdued him. No one understood why Rin helped them this time. And Rin gave no explanation. Before anyone could question him, he disappeared again. The police thought the case was already over. They immediately arrested the criminal. But they did not know that the real arsonist was someone else. Meanwhile, Sota and Arata ran into new trouble as well. They were questioning Phantom Soma. But Soma tricked them and managed to escape. His escape left an even bigger crisis ahead. The next second, a dangerous man named Enji suddenly appeared. He blew up the police car on the spot. Enji clearly had a terrifying ability. Meanwhile, Saya and Misaki prepared to explain everything to Rosen. They sat across from Rosen. Saya reminded Rosen that there was no need to keep having his men watch them. Rosen was shocked by Saya's powers of observation. He also began to suspect that Saya had some kind of supernatural ability. Saya said this was exactly what he wanted to explain. But before he explained, he asked Rosen to have his men leave first. Rosen finally told his men to stand down. Then he told Saya to explain everything right there. Saya started telling Rosen the truth. He explained that he did not belong to this world. He came from somewhere completely different. For reasons he still did not understand, he had woken up inside Polka's body. By then, Polka's neck had already been cut open. His body had been covered in blood, and Saya could not even speak. The one who had killed the real Polka was Misaki. And she was standing right beside them. But Saya told Rosen not to worry. The real Polka had not disappeared. With a little more time, Saya would find a way to bring the real Polka's consciousness back. He would even look for a way to give the body back to him. Rosen was shocked. When he realized Misaki had killed his son, he flew into a rage. He drew his sword and aimed it at her. But at the last second, the real Polka's soul appeared from inside the toy and stopped Rosen. The real Polka told his father that he had already forgiven Misaki. Back then, Misaki had only been following orders. And now, everything was different. He also asked Rosen not to stay angry over him leaving home. In the end, as his son, Polka asked Rosen to spare Misaki. He asked his father not to hurt her anymore. Rosen was moved by his words. He decided to forgive Misaki because that was his son's wish. After the talk with Rosen ended, Saya and the others prepared to leave. They did not want to cause any more trouble. But then, Misaki suddenly hugged the toy that carried the real Polka's soul. She apologized to him. She told the real Polka that no matter what had happened, she was truly sorry. The real Polka's kindness made her feel even more pain. This time, her apology sounded sincere. Before Misaki left, Kazuna and Shizuki also thanked her for saving them. For the moment, the Shinoyama family's crisis calmed down. The next day, Sota called in Arata and the other investigators. They were preparing to capture Soma again. But before they could make a move, the news reported that Soma had escaped. Halfway through the broadcast, the anchor suddenly revealed who he really was. The man on camera was Soma himself. In front of every viewer, he announced that his criminal performance was starting again. From that moment on, Soma would create a new one every week. Saya also saw the live broadcast. He and the others began to suspect that Soma might be connected to Enji. They had no evidence yet. But if these two dangerous criminals really joined forces, even more destruction would follow. Just then, Saya, the real Polka's sister, came to see them. She said she would live with Polka from now on. She suspected that Polka was hiding something. So she wanted to watch him herself. The man beside her was Yuto, her personal bodyguard. Then Saya played a video from Rosen. In the video, Rosen said he wanted Saya to take care of Saya for the time being. Once the danger passed, she would leave on her own. This looked like a request for Saya to look after Saya. But in truth, it also gave Rosen a chance to keep watching him. Saya eventually agreed to let Saya stay. The next day, Arata and Sota came to the Shinoyama family home to investigate the case. They had started to suspect Takaru. After all, he seemed to have killers protecting him. Ran had also been moving quietly in the shadows. One of Takaru's female subordinates asked if he wanted to get rid of the two investigators. Takaru refused. He decided to use them first. He wanted to uncover the secret around Polka before making his move. Saya and Yuto sat in another room. On the surface, they were simply resting away from Saya. But Yuto was not just an ordinary bodyguard. He was secretly listening to Saya's conversation. In fact, Yuto had come because Rosen had arranged it. Rosen had sent him to protect Saya. At the same time, he wanted Yuto to investigate Saya's true intentions. Now, Saya was trapped in even more trouble. The Shinoyama family's internal conflict was still not over. Soma and Enji were still causing chaos behind the scenes. And the police were getting closer to Saya's true identity. Although Saya's story sounded like pure fantasy, Rosen's experience told him that Saya did not seem to be lying. Still, Rosen needed to keep observing him. Yuto was loyal to Rosen. He had always looked down on the real Polka. Years ago, Yuto had been so sick that he was close to death. His family had abandoned him. Only Rosen had been willing to save him. Since then, Rosen had become the most important person in Yuto's life. At that moment, Saya began talking about his original world on purpose. He wanted Yuto to hear everything. In fact, Saya already knew Yuto was watching him. Then he said something clearly aimed at Yuto. He said Yuto was still protecting Saya so late at night. That meant Yuto really cared about her. Yuto was shocked. But he could not figure out how he had been exposed. The rest of the night remained quiet. The next day, investigator Sota began investigating a middle school student. That student was Shinoyama Polka. Sota told the others that Polka was part of the Shinoyama family. But after leaving home, Polka had gotten involved with dangerous people like Takumi and Misaki. More importantly, Misaki's footprints had appeared at the scene of the case involving that organization. Polka had also let something slip at Clarissa's cafe. Polka had status and money. So why would someone like him get involved with people this dangerous? There had to be a bigger problem behind it. With these clues, Sota and Arita were now closer than ever to Polka's secret. For now, this part of the story came to an end. Next, would they uncover Polka's real identity? And could Saya protect this secret while finding a way back to his original world?